Should Be Breeze topic number 3. Should Be Breeze topic number 3 says, someone said, we need original black stories from black creators, not race swaps folks, to support this to the 100th degree. Are they right? This, of course, came with a link. It's taking us back to Twitter. So it's a tweet from Discussing Films. And hold on a second. Why is this doing? Let me tee it up for a second. So Discussing Film tweets out all episodes of Kazazimoto. And, I actually started watching this late one night recently, actually, within the week. It's interesting what I saw. All episodes of Kazazimoto Generation Fire are now streaming on Disney Plus. The anthology series is developed by rising animation talent from 6 African nations. So let's watch the.
Is this sponsored?
Is this tweet sponsored?
No, I mean you did talk about how good the show is. Is this sponsored?
No, I didn't give a thumbs up or thumbs down. I started watching it. It was late. So I can't even really remember all of the story, but it looked decent if it's African animators. That's what I said to myself. If it's African animators, it looks decent. We're starting to get, I guess, in the game a little bit. But now here, I realize it's a Disney Plus show. So it has to be Disney that's doing it, I'm assuming, the animation. So now I don't know. But anyway, let's take a look, and then we'll discuss it.
Open your eyes. It is not what we have, but what we do.
Let's go.
We are headed to the big leagues, Jaya Army. From the ruins of great Zimbabwe!
You are a disgrace to your name, kiddo.
I should be out there making them pay!
Move?
You will not have him again!
You chose this fate.
You think that's fast? Watch this.
All right, let's play. Ready to meet your ancestors?
So already in the chat, you got Trigger Happy saying that this looked really good. It's owned by Disney, but this looks good, so I'm definitely supporting it. He says, my only thing is I don't know why people have a problem with the quote-unquote the race swap criticism is unfair. No race swap is stupid. This is what you do. The next step is us making our own studios. He says, I'm going to watch this with obviously a critical eye, but it looks good. That second to last point you made is an interesting one. Oftentimes I criticize the race swap thing. And I particularly criticize when our people are making a big deal of it. Like there's this channel on YouTube. I'll call the name. This guy, a black guy named Eman's Reviews. And I realize Eman is a dude, I'm not trying to mess with his money. But I realize he's pandering to a wide audience. So he wouldn't want to get into a lot of the deeper themes, black nationalist type themes and, stuff like that. But, to sit up for hours sometimes critiquing what these white folks do, like Disney is doing with a black character, to me it's insane. Put that effort into creating collectives that can actually produce the things that you want to see. So that is, I do critique the race swap thing. I get it though. I get when you're starting out, especially you do what is familiar, and then you differentiate. I get that too. That's what folks want to do. That's fine. But let's not stay on the race swapping thing too long. Let's get to we can produce these films and ourselves. Anyway, that's my spiel on that. The prompt says, someone said, the prompt says, should be something number 3. Someone said, we need original Black stories from Black creators, not race swaps. Folks who support this to the 100th degree, are they right? I would say yes. Even though it's Disney, let's encourage these African creators that they collaborated with into telling these types of stories. So let's do that. D-Web, what say you to what you just saw?
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. If it's Disney, I ain't supporting shit. I know the history behind Disney. I know the history behind Walt Disney. Maybe I'll get in my conspiracy bag. I'm deep in that. But, I will never support deals with the devil. The same thing as the lesser of two evil things. You're going to end up in the same place. When you go to that crossroads and you make a deal with the devil, they're going to input their agenda at some point. I guarantee you some LGBTQ plus XYZ stuff going to pop up, maybe a tranny or two. It's going to be something that pops up in this, okay? Because that's what Disney does. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to let me personal story, yo. I'm sitting here, trying to watch some with my toddler, who has a Netflix account, and and it's supposed to be tailored for this age demographic. The number one trending thing on that Netflix was like a cartoon with a gay plot line in it, low key. You know what I'm saying? I had to really watch it to see it. So I'm not supporting anything Disney does. Disney wants to stick around. They're a company. You know where the world is trending. We've done the stats at where the world is trending. We've done the stats on who has a growing population, who will be the next consumer hub. It will be Africa. Therefore, they are pandering, which Disney should do. If I was a company like Disney, I would pander to Black people because there's going to be the biggest consumer. So to me, that's some bull. There's plenty of original Black creators out here who not affiliated with Disney who you can support. But when you make deals with the devil, don't be surprised when your ass get hot. That's all I got, bro.
Sorry, I couldn't find the goddamn mute button. Web, I feel you on that. I do feel you on that. The last point you made about all the other, in this case, animators and stuff, I don't know if we know them. Jose is saying that, maybe I'm underestimating. Let me find the comment. Jose in the chat is saying, do not underestimate Africa's potential with animation and 3D design. Even the diaspora Africans are higher up than you would expect. A Ugandan designer is top in Britain. And that's an interesting point. He also mentioned Black Sands, which I think Webb and Oni also purchased or supported as well as I. So I get your point about making that deal with that devil. But again, I could be wrong, but the way that I would learn about these 6, African collaborators is through their partnership. I doubt I would have heard anything about them, without said collaboration. So that's the kind of messed up position I think we're in. That a lot of our folks who are doing things, we wouldn't know unless there's a white cosign. Because we don't have those channels. We haven't created those communication channels that gets that information out. And honestly, I think the way our people are en masse is that they're not really checking on who's the animator, and that is a African or 6 African folks. I think that's the other big problem we have too. We don't really check for who's doing things, who's moving and shaking, so to speak, in the black world. But with that said, though, let's go to Buana. Buana, what say you?
I personally think that they Disney is Disney is a smart company. Disney is a smart company, and you deal probably these animators, and I'm guessing, but these animators are young African people who may not understand the business. They understand the tech side. They understand the dutiful side of creating these beautiful images and creating stories, but they don't understand the business, the long-term business. And as I look at this, I am saying to myself that they didn't need Disney. They didn't need them. I know though, on the corporate side or the business side, Disney probably offered them a beautiful package, a beautiful buy, a beautiful buy. And when you're dealing with possibly hungry people, they're looking at the money, the short-term money. And there's an important thing. I was listening to an interview by Master P. Master P said when he got into the industry, the first guy offered him $1 million and he turned it down, only having $100 in his pocket. And he said to his brother, because his brother was like, "Man, we broke. Why wouldn't you take $1 million deal from this guy?" He's like, "If this guy offered me $1 million, imagine how much my content is actually worth. Imagine how it's probably worth 10 times that." And I wish, I don't know who these young people have talking to them. I would want to talk to a Master P with this kind of situation. Because the bigger picture is they're going to have the masters, they're so-called masters, or this content, and they're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars, even though they give them the initial buy and maybe $1 million to create the content themselves. I'm saying you don't need them. Jose in the tech industry understand that the internet has leveled the playing field against a whole lot of these big corporations. You didn't need the corporation. You could have actually sell this product to millions of people on the continent and even in the Western world without going through Disney. But Disney can give you that big captivating buy. And you so focused on that initial buy, you don't see that you could make 10 times, 10 times generational money. Generational money. Disney may understand that, but these young people who probably produce this content would not. And you need someone and whispering in your ear and saying, "Hey, look, this you don't need Disney. You could do this without Disney. It may take a little bit longer, but you're gonna get that money and you're gonna own the rights to your content. Once you sell that content to Disney, then they control everything. All the products is gonna come from this. Any dolls and cartoons and physical images that they could possibly sell to the consumers for this content, they can own that too. So you can get that initial buy, but you can get the residuals. I only wish, man. I only wish they had that long-term vision. And I understand that when you have a need, you have to fill that need immediately sometimes. So you won't see that sparkling $1 million or $2 million. I gotta take that. But I think that they didn't need Disney with this particular deal. They didn't need them at all. But it is what it is, man. And I wish them much success, and I wish them much luck in going forward. I would just leave it there.
Something I don't think a lot of us pay attention to. When y'all say they didn't need Disney, when Buana says they didn't need Disney, I would push back and say this. Disney's name alone is a huge marketing chip. Not only that, Disney's multi-billion corporation can put big money. If they decide to put money behind something, they could put big money. We talking 200 million is nothing, for example, for them to put on the marketing side of the game. These young folks here, they're saying, yeah, we got the internet, but look how long it took Black Sands to do something, if it ever really did anything, right? I still don't think they have a cartoon yet, right? That marketing thing, man, that's the thing. And they're probably saying to themselves, with our name getting some exposure and blowing up a bit, then maybe we can do these other things that that Buana would be, talking about. I think we undervalue that marketing channel, that marketing system that these big companies have. That these guys, if they even did this whole film by themselves, which is possible, by the way, who would see it? How much would people pay for it? How do you market it, etc.? Go ahead.
I can answer for that. Because I understand your position. I do, Coco. Don't mistake the fact. I do understand your initial position. You have a big company, big corporation. They've been in the business for many years, many, and that is something to be considered. However, when you sell your rights away, now I have the ability as as the owner of these rights, I can pervert any images that I want. I could include LGBT. I can include things that I wish because these are my rights now. Your content is my rights now. I could do what I wish to that content now. You see old singers like what's the guy's Green what's his name now? I can't remember his name now. These old singers who have sold their rights a long time ago. Now you see their music playing in Kentucky Fried Chicken commercials. I'll agree. You see that their music being perverted and sold in a way that they didn't necessarily want their content to be sold. They don't even make a profit off of that now because they've sold it right 30 years ago. And I understand the position that they're in. It's a sticky position, like you say, because the marketing power of these corporations has been around for a very long time. It's very difficult to say no to $200 million because you can't see a day when possibly you would make $1 billion. The Indians saw it though, because right now Bollywood is $1 billion industry in competition with Hollywood. And a lot of that content is controlled and owned by the Asians. The Jews in Hollywood don't own that content, and they still making the same greenbacks. I don't know. I understand your position because your position is a real position. It's a real position. When you talk about marketing, when you talk about initial upfront money, when you talk about getting the word out there. However, I think that approaching this particular situation in a long-term way, as a long-term investor, sometimes you have to bet on yourself. Let me put it like that. Sometimes you have to bet on yourself, and you can't give all your content, all your life's work in the hands of somebody because they offer you a big bag. Because there is a possibility that exists. If you bet in yourself, you make more in the future. I don't know. Maybe it's a difference between me and you in business, but I understand your position completely.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying too. And I think there's some people who probably say to themselves, I think that guy Nate Parker had that mentality. Listen, I'll sell this first film, the proceeds of which I'll open up my production company and blah, blah, blah. And, again, too, we're in a system where these guys could ice your shit out too. That's another thing. These guys can sabotage your shit. I brought up Nate Parker. They sabotaged Nate Parker's first film in America here. They sabotaged that. They sabotaged him with the old rape allegations and all that stuff. They spent about $17 million to get that movie. Fox did, right? He could have sold it to the black guy for about 20, but he went with Fox for some reason. Right, and they still end up kind of sabotaging that first film he did. So it's a tough situation. Like Ms. Weeda is saying in the chat, we are obligated to support our family until content goes off. By this time, animators would have made their name, exposure, and can move on. I think that's the thing that most people kind of bet on. But let me stop rambling. Let me go to Oni. Oni would say.
Yeah. So I think. Well, there was this video title I saw, and it's like, you're not going to be rich. And I think a lot of people probably need to hear that. A lot of people dream of becoming rich. When we talk about a Master P did become rich, sure. but it's not like he was the only black person at that time, you know, who wanted to get into the rap industry. You know, I think 50 Cent said it best. He said he said, what was the number? I think he said 9 out of 10 black folk try to rhyme. You know what I mean? Like 9 out of 10 black men try to rhyme. And he's not capping. Like even I tried to rhyme. You know what I'm saying? like 90% of black folk in like America try something musically. You know? If you even like just pay attention, you know Koku tried something musically. I'm sure I don't know, but D Web is pretty interested in music, right? So it's like, yeah, you can't look at this one success story and say, well, you know, keep pushing because you're gonna make it. Because the reality is this: most people don't. You know, this guy was breaking down the whole grifter market thing. He's like, look, realistically, the only people who really make it are the top performers. You know, the top 0.3%. Even if you look at OnlyFans, right? The only people really making a living off of OnlyFans is the top 0.3%, or what have you. My point being, it's a law demonstration, but it's like I don't agree. I don't personally want to support nothing Disney, obviously, right? But I don't know if I'm going to tell somebody who's an animator, right? Don't look at that big check Disney's giving you, right? Because, you know, I could tell them that. That's the easy thing to do. But the reality is this. They're not doing, they're doing art for a reason, to make money. You know, it's another one of those quote unquote bum activities. No disrespect to artists. Well, obviously no disrespect. But what I'm saying, when I say a bum activity, what I mean is, if you don't have any money, that's what you're gonna try to do, obviously, right? Because people have to make money, and that's the thing that we don't understand about this economic system is that we have to go and try to make money. Hold on a second.
But I would say.
Sorry. I was just my kid is just acting up. So anyway, he was just like, I'm just going to do whatever I want. All right. So what I was saying was that now, obviously, like I said, I wouldn't because again, especially if it was Netflix, I wouldn't touch it at all because Netflix is just gay flex at this point. You know what I'm saying? It's really just softcore gay porn at this point. But and it's been that way. It's just weird. It's just weird. That said, as far as I could tell from this show, from the language in the prompt, I think they were just African authors, like African writers. Disney, for what it is considered, if you're being honest, one of the best animators performing today. Like by raw skill, they make the freaking Avengers look like real people. They make the Hulk look like a real person. If you compare it to the old Hulk movies, you'll see the big difference, right? There's some of the best animators on the planet right now, right? These guys are looking to get a pretty penny. These guys are looking to get a pretty penny in their lives, and for us to tell them, no, hold out, you're gonna make it somehow in the middle of nowhere where nobody's really trying to sponsor you, right? It's very unlikely. Now, granted, I think that we should put ourselves in the position to sponsor people, but kind of like what Koku was saying, we have the example of Black Sands. What happened with them? We have the example of Nate Parker. What happened with that guy? He was rich. We have the example of Bill Cosby and his old thing. What happened to that guy? He got to prison. These white folk do not play. Disney does not play. And for the most part, every one of us has seen a Disney production. And so if I were an artist or a writer, not me personally, I wouldn't. But if I were a writer in the middle of nowhere, right, I probably would aspire to tell my story under Disney's banner. Now, is that right? No. But we go back to that sentiment earlier. Who has Disney Plus? Who has Netflix? And who has Quelly TV? Okay, I had Quelly TV. The marketing is not there. The effort is not there, and the promotions are just not there. you go on like Disney Plus is being promoted by black folk all over the freaking planet, right? All over everywhere. And then Quelly TV, basically none of us are talking about it. Black Sands, basically none of us are talking about it. Nate Parker, if he has a studio, basically none of us are talking about it. Right? The guy who made Meteor Man. I saw it as a kid. You know, my father might be a Caribbean transplant or whatever, but he made us watch Meteor Man. It was nice, right? But all that said, we don't support. We're not supporting ourselves. We're not even promoting ourselves. And for us to sit back and tell these people do not engage with the biggest industry, do not engage with the biggest competitor. It's like, okay, what choice are you giving them? You know, sit by and wait for some mystery money, right? Sit by and try to be like Master P, who I don't even know how Master P got in, but be like Master P, but at the same time, I want to say this: us saying, "Hey, go to Disney," right? Because I'm not saying go to Disney, but us saying go to Disney, we can't critique black folk for doing the dumb shit in hip hop. We can't critique Sukihana for selling her fucking soul. We can't do that because we're basically telling these artists go do the same thing. But it really comes back to the fact that we as a people are not giving to our own. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with that. We're not supporting our own in the way we ought to, and also our own, so to speak, aren't, at least to me, aren't doing a whole bunch that is in line with like creating their own industries per se. And by the way, this tweet does mention that the African talent were animators. If you look at the screen, you'll see. Yeah, they weren't writers per se. I think there might be some writers, but this was highlighting the fact that there was 6 groups of animators from Africa. So like, are these animators creating movie houses, collaborating amongst each other and putting out dope content? That's one of the knocks about Quelly TV too, by the way. Right? Is the content dope like that? So is that what's going on, or is it what Oni and I are saying that these guys they're gonna go to the titan in the industry, and they're gonna sell they're gonna make their money.
Before Bonner says something, let me just say something quick. About the whole animation thing. Yeah, you might be right. You're probably right about the animation thing. But what I want to say about animators is this: you need a lot of processing power. A lot of computing power. You know who has a lot of computing power? Disney. You in your little house with your little MacBook, you don't have the computing power or the talent, not necessarily the talent pool, but you don't have the resources that Disney has. Disney pretty much owns a lot of the industry on the planet, like a lot of the entertainment industry on the planet. It's not a joke business. It's a business that can clown other people. Like D-Web just pointed out, they lost $2 billion last year, and they're still going around. None of us lost $2 billion fucking dollars and still going around. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Ain't none of us lose $2 billion and still just walking around like oh, okay, we're just gonna fire a few people. You know what I'm saying? This is not a joke. It's not like next door. The people that we're talking about, these amazing talents, they don't have Disney money. That's all I'm saying.
I hear what the brother's saying, and it's very difficult to argue against your points, because what your points are is extremely legitimate. It's very difficult to argue against it. But I think that it all falls for me, to business style and what the individuals would do. And for me, I would bet on me. And I'm not judging these brothers them for doing what they did based on your arguments, because what you're saying is extremely legitimate. However, I would bet on me. And also, too, this goes back to our arguments earlier when we talk about black people being risk averse. When Elon Musk, well, I don't like to include these white boys in our conversation. So, but I would say that when these guys started their business, They didn't start with the help and assistance of all these other people. They provided a service that people were willing to buy, in very large numbers. Now, I understand when the brothers them fall say, well, why would I say no to a $200 billion buy? It's very difficult to argue against that. But for me, it falls the business style, and I would want, if my business was to fail, I want it to be, I want to be able to fall on my own sword. Now, is that stubborn, mule-headed, and ridiculous, and not logical? Maybe, but I would just rather fall on my own sword, if I have to fall. But I'm gonna still try regardless, and I'm not risk averse. I would take the chance. But it just falls the business style, and we just tend to differ with this particular thing. So.
Okay, then you beg on the street. Beg on the street and say you wrote a good book.
So, Juana, let me ask you about perhaps an alternative move, which, like I mentioned earlier, you work with this company. And Webb, I'm coming to your comments about the company, because that's a good point too, right? And so first, let me get this one off. Like, what about the idea of your first product, right? You want to get your name out there. You want to get exposure, as well as you could get that money from this tightening the industry, this juggernaut, right? Why not go take that money? Because this is why I have a problem. A lot of our folks will go take that money and then not even try to do something of their own self for their folks, for their people or what have you. But like only mentioned, Nate Parker, where is he? You haven't really heard about him, since that debacle with that film. So why not support that move alternatively?
I'm not. No, I listen. If that is the case, if I was offered a situation, I'm not beyond compromise. If I could use Disney, just like they're using me, by the way, if I could use Disney as a tool to get my name out there into the hemisphere and get the word out about who I am, great. That's all good. But it has to be something that's short term, because ultimately, at the end of the day, Disney is a company that started by one man, Walt Disney, and generations later, they became the giant that they are right now. So it's not beyond me to do the same kinds of things. I may take generations to get to that point, but that's how it's created. And let me say something about Nate Parker. Nate Parker is in Hollywood selling stories to Hollywood about the Black experience in America. Nate Parker needs to understand, if he does, and I was telling Berzuli this as well. Nate Parker has the whole continent of Africa where he could sell his stories. American man like him going to Africa, he'd be able to sell his stories all over. He could do a whole lot of things in other markets. He's not limited just to the American market. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? China would even imagine. Don't you know when there was a basketball player? His name was Marbury, Stephon Marbury. Stephon Marbury played in the NBA for a substantial amount of time, but when he moved to China, he almost became like a Michael Jordan in China. A Michael Jordan in China. You have hundreds of millions of people adore this man, and he doesn't have the same kind of love and respect in the country and where he comes from, because he decided to choose a different market to play in. So our limitations within the border of the United States, I understand we come from there, so we don't want to betray that. But we deal with a global world. You don't have to limit your markets and expectations or talent to just one place. That's all I'm saying. But like I say, I understand the perspective of Disney is a monolithic corporation that extends all over the world. So why wouldn't I want that kind of marketing and shout out? Why wouldn't I want? It's very difficult to argue against that. But like for me, I would just say it's just a matter of business style. That's all I would say. But I would if I was offered that opportunity to initially just get the word out initially, you know what I mean, just to get that jump start, maybe I would deal with Disney, but not for long term, because ultimately, in the end of the day, I want to have mine. You know, Walt Disney, his last name gonna echo forever in history because of what he did, what, 50, 60 years ago. Why not my name? Why not Bwana Hagoziki? Why not having Hagoziki plus? You know what I mean? That should be considered as well because he started as a man just like me. You know what I mean? I think that sometimes we don't like to start from the beginning, but when you look at the beginning of all these guys and how their names end up echoing through history, they started at one point and eventually they may not personally live the experience, but generations down the line, you see that name in broad pictures and you say, and now we arguing and say, you can't go up against these kinds of individuals. They're human beings just like us. And we could compete with them just like anyone else in the world. You know, so this is where I fall with in my mind, not everyone, it's not for everyone, but in my brain. But I'll stop there.
No, I agree with that sentiment in certain areas and circumstances. I just think in this particular one, you're not going to be even a blip. There's all kind of independent black filmmakers, and until they hit, I forget what channel it used to be. There used to be a cable channel. When I had cable, there's a cable channel that just have like a black film weekend or something every year. It could be Stars or someone like, yeah, I think it's Black Stars or something like that. Until you see those films there, you don't know who these people are. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, after you see that film on that channel and hear that director's name, you don't hear about them people no more. You know, there's a couple of good examples back in the day when I used to keep up with that stuff. You watch some great indie films on Black Stars, I think it was, and you'll never hear about that producer again, except maybe making like a music video or something like that. It's just how it is. But I do think there's some lanes, some industries where you can bet on yourself and actually make a reasonable mark in that lane. Sister Vita, first Chem Warrior says the diaspora should connect with Nigeria and Nollywood. I always think about that too. I always think, man, if you're gonna make these films and kind of begging white folks to put it on Stars and all that kind of stuff, man, go take that thing down to Nigeria and go move there and, you know, try to make your inroads there and stuff like that, man. You know, I think that's a lane you could actually do something with. You know, earlier Ms. Vita said, as long as you don't compromise your morals, not shame on getting that bag now, then go on and do your own thing. And that brings me back to D. Webb. Webb earlier said, Disney, one of the biggest pedo advocates in the world. If the bag worth your soul, then so be it. They control the IMF, World Bank, Fed Reserve, etc. If your chief motivation is the fiat, we're doing well. But I want you to talk about that a bit more, man.
Well, if you control what, first and foremost, a lot of this stuff is not backed by anything tangible. We know the fiat. I don't know if people know what fiat is, or you know what that entails, but basically every country, just like you're given a credit score, countries are given a credit score, right? And a lot of this money that they're circulating is backed by nothing. They actually control the bank. That is the play, right? That is the play. When you control the bank, who cares, right? You can never outbank the bank. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can never outbank the bank. That's why, you know, I think we suffer from short-sightedness. Let's circle back to Nate Parker, right? We talk about how Nate Parker is basically, you know, banished from Hollywood, right? Nate Parker just had a film in 2019 that made $4 million in 2 weeks. We could say that's not nothing, right? It's one of the it was premiered at some festival and was one of the top grossing films for that company he was working for at the time. Now we can say because he's not on Brad Pitt level, right, that he's a failure. But how many of us wish we had $1 million, let alone produce a film that made $4 million in 2 weeks, right? So, you know, I think we suffer from this thing where if we're not acknowledged, if we're not winning white people awards, if we're not on this $1 billion level, that it's a failure. right? That is suffer some stuff. When in reality, right, many of us would faint if we got a 6-figure check right now. That is a great deal of money. That is great successful. I wish I had 1,000 followers on my podcast, right? That would be great success. That would be nothing for a Joe Rogan of the world, right? So I think we suffer from this short-sightedness where we see as people's not being this global or even acknowledged by white people as this global success, that it's a failure. And to me, that is where we go wrong in things. That is where a lot of times that we suffer from this short-sightedness that I spoke about earlier, upon which you don't bet on yourself. And if you just rely on the same institutions that's been around, what company that was created in 1570 is around now? Like, at a certain point, things change. Okay, at a certain point, things change. And if you don't have the vision and honestly the balls to go about and stake your claim in that, then you're just going to fall victim. And then we're going to continue this loop, right? We're going to continue this rat race. We're going to continue this. So that's why I be very careful about this whole bag. Get the bag, and then you can do your own thing. Nah, because you're going to sign a contract that says that whatever work that you made while getting that bag, right, is on to that studio, is on to this company, right? So when you try to strike it out on your own, guess what? They're going to blackball you. They have all your information. If they can blackball you while you work for them, what makes you think they can't blackball you once you leave? The bag don't mean shit. They don't care about the bag, right? They control the currency. They control the industry. They control the media. So to me, that is the terrible idea to have, yo. If you're going to go out, go big, go big balls, go balls to the wall, bro. Do out and do your own thing, yo. Because once you make the deal with the devil, now the devil knows your tendencies. They know everything that you do. They know how to control you. They know your weaknesses. They don't even let you sign that contract unless you agree to certain things with them. So that's all I got, bro. That's what I meant by that.
Appreciate that, Web. I can't fight a lot of what you said. The one thing I'll say about Nate Parker and that film you're talking about is he did use, I'm guessing it was Sundance or one of those film festivals, right? You see what I'm saying? So he still had, even to make that 4 million in 2 weeks or 2 million in 4 weeks, whatever it was, he still had to use that apparatus, their apparatus, to even kind of hit some kind of mark with that film. That's all I'm saying. But your point about the blackballing before and after, I agree with that too. So that also says, well, maybe I go and I make that dough. At least I could support my family. You know, they might blackball me after and I've never heard of again. Or you could don't make anything and put out a film and it's great and it's wonderful, but no one knows about it. And trust me when I tell you, there's thousands of those films every year that they're great, they're wonderful, they're black, and they're, you know, black love is beautiful, all that kind of stuff. And you and I and everyone here, none of us know about this shit.
Bro, let me run real quick, bro. Go poll black people and see how many people know who Marcus Garvey is. Would you call Marcus Garvey, if say only 25% know who Marcus Garvey is, would you call Marcus Garvey a failure?
No, I'm not trying to call any of these people a failure per se. But I am looking at the practical side of, for your skill and ability and talent, are you able to feed yourself and your family? That's what I'm also looking at. You know?
Yeah. I wanted to just add, you know, because Wanda said earlier that, you know, Walt Disney started off as one man. You know, I think one of the things that we don't do is we don't look at the full story of how these individuals started off. You know, there are some stories of people with, like, you know, oh, I just had $2 in my pocket and I did something, right? And that's, you know, like, you know, that one guy, the investor guy. But beyond that, like, are we so sure Walt Disney never worked for anybody else? You know what I mean? Like, are we confident that he never?
He did,
Come again? Huh?
He did. He was an animator for someone else before.
That's what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, you know, when we giving out this advice of, hey man, why don't you do like Walt Disney? It's like, did Walt Disney really just wake up one day? Like, did he just really do everything without ever working for anybody else? You know, and that's the big question. Because if we're telling black folk, do not work for anybody else, but be like Walt Disney, what's the full story of Walt Disney? Like, tell the full story.
Did Walt Disney work for a black person?
Come again?
You leave that part out. Did Walt Disney work for a black animator before he got rich?
Did Walt Disney work for a black? Probably not.
Exactly. So
that's the thing, though.
Go work.
No, but that's the thing, though. It's like the thing about I think Brother Bakari points this out sometimes. The thing about this is that black folk don't have capital, so it's like, yeah, you're not gonna work for black. Just like a lot of us, you know, well, maybe some people do, but like a lot of black folk don't work for black folk. Period. Even in America. Right, where in America we have some of the richest black people on the planet. In fact, most of the black people on the planet are in America, and yet, like most of us, like 95% of us that are working work for white folk. You know, so yeah, Walt Disney's not going to work for black people, but and I think that people in Africa are very willing to work for black people. It's just a question of, are black people willing to employ other black people, or are black people in a position to employ other black people, right? And that's where it comes. That's where it comes back to, because yeah. So I think that's what it comes. Like I think that's what it comes to. So it's like, no, of course Walt Disney didn't. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know. Because you know, there's this what's it called, Sears and Roebuck. I heard the story about Sears and Roebuck. I think Roebuck was like a black watchmaker or something like that. So I mean, it's possible that you could work for a black person and whatever, but I doubt it. All the same, you know, it really comes back to, where is the money? Like, who's paying who? And that's where it comes. Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry.
No, sorry for cutting in on you. I don't want to cut your wisdom.
I was ranting.
Your volume was kind of low, water.
Yeah, he's tether bobbling. If the brothers and sisters are hearing that I'm saying not to work for no one, that's not what I'm saying. You know, there is a good documentary out right now by the story of Stan Lee. Everybody knows Stan Lee is. He worked for a company for his in his young life. But my philosophy is, if you are an industry that you have skill and training in, I would suggest to understand that industry inside and out, how it works, how they make their money, etc., etc., etc. What moves the industry. After you have learned the things that you know and understand how that industry works, then you are more in the driver's seat for doing the things that you need to do. If you have the natural talent to do the things that you need to do to get your message out there, because it just becomes a matter of, okay, I understand the things that I need to do. I have the talent I need to do. Why can't I do the same kinds of things? I'm not saying just start off not knowing nothing about the industry that you're in and then trying to pitch yourself for that. There are some people who have done that, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying understand that you're in. It's called show business for a reason. You understand the show, the entertainment aspect of it, but also you have to understand the business aspect of it. And then after that, you could prove yourself into the marketplace in doing the things that you need to do to compete with the rest of the big boys. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but by the way, I don't think black people should work for Disney. You know what I'm saying? I was just more so saying, you know, obviously even Disney work for other people, but I don't think black people should work for Disney. You know, I mean, sure, they ignored some of my emails, you know, asking for I'm joking. but like even so, I mean, yeah, like no, I don't think black people should work for Disney either. I don't think so.
All right, here's where I would usually go to the station ID break, but you guys know the deal. For time's sake, I won't. But, you know, try to visit the site. I got to do a bunch of updates over there soon. But check it out. Check out all the other shows on KWAZ Radio, including the Pro-Black Perspective, the Hash Ali Podcast, Brother Bakari, Cassidra Cheek, Tanzan African Mind, and the 4Kast Radio. You know, check those other channels out as well.